welcome to Kong Builders. My name is Viktor Gamov. I welcome you at the Kong YouTube channel. You can always go and check the Kong YouTube channel for new videos, and the things what you can do here is go ahead and just subscribe. If you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, just go there, enable notifications so you will not miss any videos. You can find that all the live recordings are here. You can find all the videos that we were doing here in the videos tab, and always you will see what is coming next. So we have something new is coming. So let's jump right into today's topic. So on the previous episode over here, when I was talking about getting started with Kong Gateway, I touched a little bit on how to get started with Kong if you never done this before, and I showed you that there's a very neat page and a very neat script that allows you to get started with Kong with one simple command. Basically, from the curl, you can run the quick start. Welcome, Austin from Boston. Great. My East Coast people are here. So with this getting started guide, you will be able to use this getting started script. Only requirements for here would be using a Docker, and using Docker, we're gonna get started. So you don't have to even know how it works. You just need to install Docker. In my particular case, I do have Docker. I have a Docker desktop installed, and let's start with this, like a quick start stuff. I was announced that I'm going to be talking a little bit about the OpenTelemetry and open tracing and how it works in Kong, and how we can enable this, and how we can integrate with OpenTelemetry providers or OpenTelemetry vendors that support receiving the traces in OpenTelemetry format. And the cool thing about this is that in the Kong 3.0, we introduced native integration with the OpenTelemetry tracing. So Kong internally knows about this format, so it can export this into whatever backend are using. Some of you, if you haven't seen this, some of you might be familiar with the OpenTelemetry as a concept. And OpenTelemetry as a concept includes three pieces. It includes metrics, it includes traces, and includes logs. Today we're going to be focusing solely on enabling OpenTelemetry to collect traces. Why traces? Because traces allows us to see and tap into particular request, to understand what is happening inside the Kong, to understand what is happening inside your service, and so far and so on. And since we're going to be using this on the Kong side of thing, we're going to be drilling down into some of the deeps of this integration. We will see how much time Kong spent on doing Kong things, how much time Kong spends to interact with the service, how much time. So we will see all these things. And this is going to be our stuff that we're going to be using today. Another thing that we're going to be using today is this OpenTelemetry plugin. So the way how this works with the Kong, the traces are available out of the box, but those traces needs to be pushed out of the Kong somehow. So in this case, we will enable this plugin that will take these traces from Kong and push those traces into a supported backend for OpenTelemetry. So this is what we're gonna be seeing. And the third component is that once we get these traces, we need to have some sort of visualization tool. I chose to pick up a Datadog for this particular case, just simply because in some of the announcements videos that we did or videos from Kong Summit, so my friend Michael and Guanlan, they did this presentation on the Kong Summit when they were talking about OpenTelemetry and specifically how to integrate this with Honeycomb. So if you want to see how it works with Honeycomb, you will be able to see it here. Today, we're going to be starting from scratch, and I will explain all the things going forward. So we're going to start by running Kong, but we also need to enable a few things here. So what specifically this plugin requires is that tracing needs to be enabled on the Kong side of things. let me find this document if we have this in documentation. I mentioned this somewhere. So OpenTelemetry plugin only works when Kong Gateway OpenTelemetry tracing configuration is enabled. So this is essential. So that's the essential part, and how you would enable this thing. So let me show you how you can do that. So if you're using Kong, you might familiar with some of the Kong configurations, and there's a Kong config file where you can enable all the things. If you open Kong configuration file, you can find a section about tracing instrumentations. So tracing instrumentations allows to collect different information about different stages that your request is going through. If you are not familiar with what is happening underneath, also write down in the comments if you need a refresher. So I will post some links. There should be a link to video where one of my colleagues, Enrique from the Kong core team, he was talking about this stuff. It's quite useful to look it up on our Kong YouTube channel. But I will walk you through some of the bits. Now, we will enable everything so we can see everything, but also you can have a quite granular, because some of the metrics might take more memory, more traffic, and things like that. In general, if you enable any type of instrumentation, it usually puts some sort of overhead on top of this. So be careful with using this, and depends on rate of your request, the traffic of these traces might be also quite significant. So this is the thing that needs to be used with grain of caution, let's say. Okay. Now, in order to enable this, we need to provide this configuration through our Docker Compose and through our Docker. So the way how it's done with the so let me do this. Get started with Kong, and after that I will see why new parameter is not available. Okay, now it's ready. I will be able to see quick start gateway, and so if I will run this HTTP, okay. Now here's the thing. Now I can see that our instrumentation is actually working. So my request came in, and it was registered, and our instrumentation that runs inside the Kong is actually picked this up. So all good, it works, it's great. Now, where we are, looking into this, we enable tracing on the Kong. Now we need to enable this plugin. But before we enable this plugin, let's take a look on the configuration of this plugin. Before I jump into configuring, so let's see, maybe we actually need something to do this. I chose to use a Datadog as my visualization tool that will collect all the data. And the way how it works, Datadog with OpenTelemetry, there's two options available for users of Datadog. One thing is that we're using data OpenTelemetry collector that will be using a Datadog exporter, and this exporter will place the data inside the Datadog. Another option is to use, I guess it's more like a legacy option, because many people who use Datadog, they already have this agent installed. So we can ingest this data using Datadog engine and collect this data to Datadog. So today we're going to be using OpenTelemetry collector because it will be also generic. You will be able to use any exporter that the OpenTelemetry collector will support. And this guy will work with any backend, okay? So in this particular case, I need to go and visit the project repository. It is part of OpenTelemetry. There's a bunch of things available. I can use this as a binary and run this, but since I want this demo to be portable, so I will go with Docker route. And the cool thing about this, I think even Datadog documentation includes information how to run this collector. So we have our target system, which is Kong. We'll have a collector where Kong will report this OpenTelemetry tracing, and collector will use exporter to push the data into Datadog. So 3 steps. let's take a look. Since we configured Kong already, let's take a look on our so I am here with my OpenTelemetry collector. So I picked up this OpenTelemetry collector. Let's be adventurous. Let's be adventurous, and we're gonna use the latest and greatest. So 0700. So we're gonna start here. Since my Kong running in its own network, I want this this collector connect to my Kong, or my Kong will be able to see this collector. So I'm using this quick start network that my Kong created, and the host of this would be OpenTelemetry collector with the name. So there's a few ports that this particular system expects. There's 2 ports that OpenTelemetry can receive the data from. So one port is HTTP, another port is gRPC. We're going to be using this HTTP. So Kong supports only communication with gRPC, HTTP backends, but we just will have this for. Do we really need this? If we need to expose this, let's keep it. And another thing that we need to pass configuration for collector itself. So this configuration is, okay, so if I will be disabling gRPC, and again, I totally didn't do this before, so something might break. And there's a few exporters that I want to define. So I want to define a exporter that would be simply putting this data into console of OpenTelemetry exporter, and it will write data into Datadog. So this is going to be my Datadog configuration, and this is what how pipeline look like. The data will be received through OpenTelemetry protocol through HTTP. From Kong. So Kong plugin will be calling this. We're going to be using processor that will be send batches to our Datadog, and also it will be using 2 exporters. One just simply write this down into into console, and after that to Datadog. So let's start this OpenTelemetry collector. So we're getting this image. Okay, everything ready. We're ready to process data. Next thing is that we need to configure this OpenTelemetry plugin for Kong, and it is available in open source. So you can use this with any deployment with Kong, which is very, very nice. Now, we're going into the plugin routes. We enable plugin globally. We're not going to be enable this on particular service or particular route, even though you can do this. It's totally cool. Couple things that I can configure here specifically for this OpenTelemetry collector. We need to have an address where we're going to be pushing this. Again, make sure we're using HTTP endpoint, and in this case, 4318 port is for HTTP. And we go into V1 traces. And after that, we also need to provide some sort of some additional configuration. Specifically, I want to have a customized service name. Naturally, everything needs to be called as a Kong builder. If we want to provide some additional headers, we can. Some OpenTelemetry backends. So in this case, we're using this OpenTelemetry collector, but some backends that can receive OpenTelemetry data natively. Those backends might include, headers for authorization token. So that's how you can pass it here using headers. And resource attributes are attributes that defined in OpenTelemetry specification, and those attributes can be changed or provided some additional. You can put the name for the service, namespace, instance ID, version, etc., etc. Cool. And yeah, that's only thing that we need so far. So I'm switching to Insomnia, where I already have a request prepared. So since my Kong needs to access this OpenTelemetry collector, remember we defined this host name OpenTelemetry connector, same name as our container. So let's take a look at our containers, our OpenTelemetry collector, everything is working, all good. So when I go with the with Kong, just go ahead and say send this request for send this for everything. Now we configure this plugin. So the plugin should be up and running. I don't see any errors. And only way how we can check if things work is try to hit some service. We do have everything is ready. So what we were doing, we're trying to submit, we configured this collector. Now let's see if we will be able to submit something and collect this trace. In this case, we should be able to see this in a log in a second, because the one trace from one service went out. And let me see if this trace actually was registered by Kong. Yep, the instrumentation call went here. And now I also see output of this logger exporter. So what it does, it's just like getting this trace and writes down all the spans that happened here. Also, let's see if this thing was able to send this to my Datadog account. So if I go to my Datadog account, go to my services, I should be able to see my service like, let's refresh it. Let's see if it's not the past hour. We want to do this past 15 minutes. And now we can see the service called Kong Builders, the service that we configured this, and has a one request. So let's break this down and see all the traces that were related to this one. Specifically, what I'm actually interested, we see duration of this request and what goes inside this. Now we can see what happened here. Since my server doesn't have any routes configured, so in this case, this is only all internal. And specifically, we have this phase for get request and a rewrite phase. This is what we have this here. So let's take a look. What does it mean, this rewrite phase? And if I will go to, actually, it's a part of where is it? See plugins. Rewrite phase executed for every request upon the reception of the client, and rewrite phase of the handler. So essentially, that's the phase that handles all this kind of like reverse proxy stuff. So nothing is happened here because we don't have a service. So next thing is that let's register service and try to hit the service. And from the previous videos, you probably know that I like to use some external service. This is the WoW service that prints out information about every time Owen Wilson does WoW in a movie. So we're going to have this API. Let me create this service, and I will create the route for WoW service. Now, if I will hit now WoW, I get the response. So my service works. Actually, here, why am I doing this? Okay, so we get the response. We have it goes via Kong, some upstream latency, and some Kong latency. Now let's see if we will be able to see these traces inside my Datadog. we need to wait a few seconds, I guess, until the service will be propagated from here into my Datadog dashboard. Let's do past. Can we do like 5 minutes, like the fresh one? Quickly refreshing, and now 2 requests that we have here. So let's take a look on the first one. No related traces. It's okay. We want to see get. I'm not very good at this one. Let's see if we have all these 3 requests here. I want to see this one and see why only one span. Because there's supposed to be all the spans that I have here. Maybe it takes some time to propagate this. Yep. Okay. So the first one is the one that we just submitted. This is not something interesting because everything happened within the Kong and it's super fast. Now we're interested in a request that happened. It goes through Kong. So first one was a GET request for 300 milliseconds. Let's take a look what is happening inside here. So we do have list of spans, and this is where things are getting much more interesting, right? Because we can see multiple things that are going on here. So first one was the query phase. We need to have first call because the service was configured through admin API, and Kong router doesn't have this configuration. We need to get this configuration from database that was serving this GET request. And OpenTelemetry collector works on the rewrite phase. We also can capture this one. So now router is handling this request because I hit /wow. So router needs to pick up where this service is registered. And after that, the balancer, this is the point where the Kong needs to call external upstream. And this is where we can see how much time we spend in the different places. Specifically, we're interested, sometimes people say, oh, the Kong doing the things like very slow or like our Kong slow. Now, with enabling this tracing, you will be able to see exactly what is happening here. So, and we see here that we're spending actually a lot of time in calling external service. And if you think about this, let's get the latest span, this one. So the second time, we don't need to call database because the configuration was already in memory. So this database call is not existent here. And the next thing, that's router and balancer. And this is how much time the Kong spent to call external service, which is fine because this is the where we call an external service and we're going through the internet and things like that. So let's put something interesting here. So let's put a rate limiting, for example, plugin on top of this service, and we will see in which phases requests will go through the rate limiting plugin, in which phase will there would be short circuit here. Now let's take a look how we can do this. Let's see if I have a rate limiting plugin. I have a rate limiting plugin and config minute 1. And let's do 2 requests per minute. So we went in the C. Right now, I'll configure this globally. Doesn't matter. But we can also configure plugin on top of the route. So plugin is created. And if I will call my WoW service, I see rate limiting plugin was applied. So let's take a look onto this span and how this this trace and see how many spans we'll find here. We need to wait few more seconds until this thing will be propagated here. Okay, so the number 4 just came in. 4 requests. Let's take a look on those. Where's my number 4? Where's my request number 4? I don't see it. Dependency map, we don't need to. Boom, boom, boom. Let's see. I'm wondering if it's just a like matter of time. So this is the here. View related traces. Okay, good stuff. Now we're gonna see interesting things. We're adding one more phase, and this is timeline. So how the things get served. And interesting thing, the access phase, it's something that that happens. Where is it? Let me see. Access phase is the most popular phase. Every time it will be executed by Kong before we access a upstream service, meaning that from this phase we can actually short circuit this request, and that's why like majority of the plugins that Kong uses use this access phase in order to like short circuit like rate limiting or like a deny some connections and things like that. So we have a rate route access, and after that access phase before balancer, because balancer will be calling external upstream service. And we know that the rate limiting, see, it takes just like a microsecond, so it's super fast. All these things are happening like a super fast. Let's try to call it like a few times so we can hit a rate limiting issue. It's okay. And now too many requests. Let's take a look how we can see this inside our service. It looks like it was successfully propagated there. We're going into my Datadog. We got 3 requests here, so we will be able to see those. Specifically, we're interested in the last 3, and we see waiting for traces to propagate. I guess that's what we wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. No related traces yet. I think it's just like matter of time to refresh. And also we should start seeing errors, because one of the requests is return error, which is not 200, and that's what I would expect to see. Next time I need to configure this to and we can see here all this all the spans that were created. They also have, they also wrote down in the console, so we can always go and observe how this happened on the console. By default, I guess Kong has like a 3 seconds delay before like send the batch to reporter. So let's see if this is. It's fun. It's interesting because it says no errors, but it should be. View related traces. Okay. 100 milliseconds and 2 milliseconds, meaning that this is the normal requests going through the rate limiting, and this one was short circuit. Let's take a look on the list of spans. And as you can see here, because it just came in the access phase, and it's a validated logic that, okay, so there's not enough requests. It didn't even try to call upstream, so there's no balancer phase in this request. So which is pretty cool, I think. This is pretty nice. Same thing with the, like, if we do something like, I do have a cache plugin. Okay, caching plugin. Let's see if the if the caching plugin does something similar, and we configure the caching plugin. So first time we're gonna call this wow service. Proxy cache get response code time to live in memory enable. Oh, okay, so that's why. Okay. Okay, so I need to delete another plugin. Okay, plugins, output preview. That's for OpenTelemetry. And where's my proxy cache? That's the ID from the proxy cache. Let me update this one as well. Okay, cool. And after that, I starting caching plugin. Okay, caching plugin is enabled. So we can just do send first request. We get the headers, says xcache status miss. So second one will be hit. Okay, so we get the key and it's somewhere in the cache. Hit. All good. Now, waiting until this thing will be propagated into our Datadog. So this is our span that we have. And yeah, we see the proxy cache worked. So now if I'm going back into my service, I'm doing refresh with this. Some of the things that we have 2 more hits. That's our guys. No related traces yet. Let's see if we have if we have some additional information. View related traces. Now we can see the traces for this request. Now 200 milliseconds sounds like a regular request, and 3 milliseconds like a request that was cached. So we will be able to go into span list, and we can see here OpenTelemetry collected this, and now on the access phase, we added a proxy cache. Here's the interesting thing. There's also another phase called header filter phase. If I'm going into, usually it happens on the response side. Where's the, yeah. So header filter, this is where we can modify response headers. So, and this is where we're adding additional headers for our response. It should be there. It should be there also for rate limited requests. Let's see. Because I'm pretty sure because it should add the response. So no, it's the previous one. Here we go. And let's see, span list. Interesting. So looks like it's not using the special response phase, because you can also modify headers during access phase. You can have a context to headers in access phase. So that's what probably the rate limiting plugin does, because the rate limiting plugin also modified headers. So that's something interesting to learn, like when you exploring this, how Kong works using this type of stuff, right? Let's take a look on this for the last time and see if we can find something interesting here. Yeah, the one is cached, another one is not cached, and we will be able to see timings. And you see, the Kong does these things like extremely fast, and all the phases just like takes microseconds. So it is really fast thing. So the next time when you will be in doubt in terms of like if it's you or your service or Kong, just enable tracing, collect some of the data, and you will be able to see the things in the runtime. And the cool thing about having this information in front of you is that you don't have to guess anymore. So that's basically it that I wanted to show you today. Again, what we saw today is how to configure Kong to enable all this telemetry, how to configure OpenTelemetry exporter OpenTelemetry collector and exporter for Datadog or log exporter, and how we can configure a plugin that will, from Kong, will report this, and how we can play around with different services, and how we play around with different services, and how Kong plugins work with different phases of request. So I hope this was useful. I hope you find this useful, entertaining. Thank you so much for those who stick around with us. And when I was trying to restart the streams, it's happened. It's live show. It's internet. Things definitely go south with this. And hopefully next time we will have no issues for doing this. I highly encourage you to subscribe. And enable notification to see next stream. You can always find me in Twitter, where you can ask the questions or give me idea about what's gonna be next, or what I can talk about on the next episode. So with this, my name is Viktor Gamov, and as always, have a nice day.